What's up, everybody? Good to see you again. This is Oteil. I'm back with Comes a Time. I know these podcasts are more few and far between than they used to be, but I just got back from Egypt, so I really wanted to share some stuff with you, especially since I was able to get the man, the myth, the legend, one of my heroes, my Albus Dumbledore, Stephen Mehler. I normally don't read bios, but I'm going to read his real quick. Stephen Mehler was born and raised in the Bronx, New York. He got his first degree in physiology and anatomy from Hunter College in New York in '67. After going to Vietnam for 4 years, he came to California, got his master's in natural sciences from San Jose State University, specializing in human ecology. Later, he returned to San Jose State University and got a second master's in social sciences, specializing in prehistory and ancient history. That was in 1978. In 1992, when I put out my first album, or we put out our first album with Colonel Bruce Hampton and Aquarium Rescue, Stephen met Egyptian-born Egyptologist and indigenous wisdom keeper Abd'El Hakim Awyan. This is the man that is the reason that I got in touch with Stephen Mehler. It is Hakim's teachings about the ancient Cometian civilization. Egyptians themselves called Egypt Kemet, so he calls it Cometian. Well over 10,000 years old, that now forms the framework for Stephen's current research. Having done field work with Hakim in 1997, 98, and 99 in Egypt, Stephen wrote his first book, The Land of Osiris, a book which I got. I think I got onto this book and onto Mehler from John Anthony West. For those of you who want to go down the rabbit hole of Egyptology, look that cat's name up. He's a serious guy, John Anthony West. And so the Land of Osiris kind of details Hakim's teaching, which is oral tradition. It wasn't written down. It's the indigenous wisdom that's passed down from generation to generation. He followed it up with his next book called From Light into Darkness. And I got both of those books. I got on this about 20 years ago. So I'll tell you this. We tell the story in the podcast about why I had to get back on Facebook to try to contact Stephen Mehler, which has a lot to do with this Ankh tattoo. But anyway, they were going to do a third book, and Hakim said, now we're going down the same mistaken lane the Greeks went down in trying to label everything. So so he stopped it, and it was a philosophical decision, and it's based on this. There's this thing called the netters, and it's what the Greeks and everybody else later mistranslated into gods. So they say these are gods and goddesses. They're not. They're representations. They're actually called by the Egyptians netters, N-E-T-E-R, or they then have vowels as N-T-R, N-T-R. So this became nature. And that's really a much better translation of what the netters are. They're forces of nature. They're not gods, they're forces. And the reason this is important is because Hakim would always say, we don't have 5 senses or a 6, as some of us more magically inclined would think. He said we had 360 senses, that 180 masculine and 180 feminine. And these correspond to these netters, these forces of nature. So it's part of us. We are expressions of the forces of nature, not apart from it. And we also, if we tune into these 360 senses / netters, we will be able to have all the forces of nature at our disposal because we will be at one with all of them. But we got a lot more senses to wake up in our current condition, which is why I was so interested in Stephen Mehler and Abd'El Hakim Awyan. This is not just about my trip to Egypt, but also about Hakim's teaching. The fact that I was able to do Stephen's last tour, because he retired from touring in 2018 from doing these tours. And he came back to do this one last tour. And I got to be on it with him and Patricia Awyan Lehman, who I'm also going to try to get on the podcast next. She is so heavy also. And it's just a miracle that I got to do this tour with him. And so we're going to talk about that, but we're also going to get into a lot of this backstory and a lot into the teachings of ancient Kemet. All right, enjoy. All right. Dumbledore, what's up, Stephen Mehler? How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, my brother. Doing all right. Good to see you.
You too. This is so surreal for me because I've, read your books and studied you and studied Hakeem for probably 20 years now. And it's so crazy. I'm used to seeing you in the podcast square, but not now at the point where we have shared memories together, which is
Yes,
mind blowing for
I
me.
know. It would be great to tell the whole story because it's almost 2 years since you contacted me first.
I know the time really flew. It's crazy how it all unfolded. And we definitely have to tell that story. There's so many stories that I want to make sure that we don't miss. I'm even writing them down now as they
I know.
come.
Well, you wanted to go for your 60th birthday, and we
Yeah,
couldn't do it last year, but we wound up going for your 61st.
yes. It was so funny because, wow, I dreamed this. Crazy. Now I'm going to have the deja vu.
Good.
It was so crazy because I wanted to go for my 60th birthday.
Great.
And you said, when's your birthday? And I said, August 24th. You're like, oh, that's impossible.
I think
And
it
I was
would
like,
be 125 degrees in Aswan.
you're like, trust me, you do not want to go on your birthday. It's not physically possible.
And
And now that I've done the tour, oh my God.
yeah, and that was not really hot. That was
No,
normal temperatures for that time of year. That was not hot.
but it's one point that I want to stress to everyone. They do not tell you when you do this trip to Egypt that you need to train beforehand.
Oh,
Like
oh,
my body was a wreck when I got home for 2 weeks.
oh.
So I just did my first workout this morning. I've done some bike rides, but my first actual, like it was a while back. So I don't know how you did this at
I don't.
79.
I still haven't physically recovered totally yet, but I'm almost there. But I started walking all summer long. See, that's why. And I prepared by getting a steroid shot in my spine that enabled me to walk. So I was already. I knew it was going to be a lot of walking and climbing and going up and down. We tried to tell people that in the introductory meetings we had that
You
it's
did.
going to be a lot of walking and it's going to be up and down, climbing down into pits, into tombs, and into going up and down, up and down, up and down.
But
But
people don't
but you're
understand,
right.
like,
You don't know. You can't really prepare until you find it. You go there. Now you know. You know what
they
it's
don't.
like.
When he says climbing up and down, here's the position you're in. I got to make it work. Try to- For how many feet? You're walking like this, and the ceiling is right there. So you
Yes.
got to walk like this
Yes.
for
Yes.
hundreds of feet.
Yes.
And it didn't hit me until I got on the plane. I was fine. They're bringing the food, blah, blah, blah. I fell asleep. Then when came time for me to get up and go to the bathroom. So we're like an hour and a half, 2 hours into the flight. I
Yeah.
couldn't get up out of my
Wow.
seat.
Wow.
And I went, oh my God, it's such pain.
Wow.
Um, and then I finally, I'm like, well, I'm just stiff from a long tour. I got in the bathroom. I went to the bathroom. I couldn't get up off the
I
toilet.
know. I'm
I
telling
was
you.
like, whoa. And then it
I,
was bad for
you
two
guys
weeks.
didn't. You guys didn't notice that it was hard for me getting up and down off the bus. I had to have help to get out of the bus half the time.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's a
I
journey.
mean, it's
It's a
really
physical.
hard. And then I went to the there's the diagram you see of the Great Pyramid to show
Right,
because I've
right,
seen that my whole life.
right.
I saw the subterranean chamber, which I did kings, queens, and subterranean, and that subterranean was the one that got my back, man. That's the one.
350 feet down, 4 foot, at 3 feet, 5 inches high, 3 feet, 11 inches wide. So people can understand that. You have to duck walk over. I know. I only did it. I told you I only did it once. In 1992, 33 years ago, I only did it once. I never did it again after that.
Yeah, I don't think I would do it again. I would do kings,
Yes.
and maybe that's it, or just do
Yeah. Well,
just
the Queens is easy too. It's right on the way.
yeah.
But
It's
yeah.
once you come back down. But yeah,
Oh
man.
yeah.
Wow.
Oh
And then it
yeah.
was a cumulative thing
Oh
also.
yeah. Oh
It
yeah.
was
To do the Grand Gallery to get up into the Kings is a trip. And the last time I did it was in 2018, and I knew I couldn't do it again, and so that's why I tried to give you guys all the instructions, and you guys did great going in there, what to do and how to deal with it. But I knew I couldn't go back in there.
well, you still, I mean, what you did do was still a lot, man. I was toast, even without the king's chamber, the queen's chamber, and the subterranean chamber. That was all the last days. The hardest thing was the very last day
Yeah,
work.
I know it's the
But we
final
had kind of
initiation.
trained in a sense up to that point. But that I was beat, man. I was beat down a couple of times in the tour. I think I missed. What did I miss? Abu Simba. I missed something because I just had to stay in the hotel and
No,
rest.
no, we did Abu Simbel's when we went to see our master. We weren't
Oh
going to
yeah,
go to
what's the one we missed?
the Elephantine Island. Did you not go to
I
Elephantine?
don't know. Elephantine was my
Yeah.
big jam. It'll come. Oh, Karnak. Karnak is the one that I missed.
I missed it too because that's when I was sick.
I was too tired. Yeah. So
It's usually, but that's usually the case. Usually people drop out in one day or two to have to catch up. So, it's rare that everybody can do every site the first time they go. It's very rare.
it's very strenuous, man. But
Yeah,
wow,
it is. Yeah.
so life changing. So I couldn't do. We got to tell the story about how I met you because
Yes.
I saw you on the podcast.
Yes.
The guy was interviewing you, and he said, "Where do you live?" He said, "I'm in Denver. I'm an old hippie. I grow my own weed." And the guy said, "Oh, you're a hippie. You into the Grateful Dead?" You went, "Yeah." Remind me to tell you the story of how Garcia met Hakim, and then you
Oh,
went on with whatever you guys were talking about.
oh,
And then
man.
in like a 2 hour podcast, you never told the story.
I know, but I remember that's when you contacted me. You
That's what
said,
I had to.
dude, I had to contact you because you know the Grateful Dead. Oh, so, I could tell you now, let me run down for people the whole story. First of all, I've been to Egypt all my life since I was 8 years old. I knew I had to go. So if really the story starts in 1987. I was involved in the study of crystal skulls, and that's a whole other podcast we could do another time.
Which
And
we
so
should
I
do.
was on a panel discussion at the San Francisco Whole Life Expo in 1987. And I'm looking, and there's a booth there. It's called Power Places Tours. And they featured tours to Egypt. And it said spiritual tours to Egypt. So I said, oh, I got to talk to these people. So I got friendly with the people running the booth, and they found out what my interests were. And to make a long story short, they said, you got to come with us because we have a guide who teaches the old ways. And I said, oh, that sounds good. And they just said his name was Hakim. That's all they said, 1987. So then it took me 5 years. The money came together for me to go to Egypt. 1992, I went with these people because I knew they used him as a guide. So I went to New York, flew, and waiting to go on the plane. And I see that there's a woman there, and she has her own little subgroup that were part of our larger group. And she told me her name was Nikki Scully. I said, I didn't know who that was. I had no idea. She said, yeah, I was once married to Rock Scully. Rock Scully was a publicist and manager of the Grateful Dead. I
Yeah.
said, oh, that's interesting. I said, yeah, and I went to Egypt with them in 1978 where they did free concerts in Egypt. And I met the guy that's going to be our guide, Hakim. I said, wow, that's interesting. So then we went on, didn't follow up with it. The whole story went down, 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 down. But I know she said that what the dead did was they went into the village, which is the village that we had our meals with to the Pyramids restaurant. That was his village. And
Yeah.
they maybe cornered a young boy, because everybody could speak really good English in that village. And they said, well, who's the head man of the village? Who's the man we should go speak? And they pointed and said, that house right there. And they went into Hakim's house. So I knew that they had been there. So it took till years later. Smoking shisha with him. And if people don't know what shisha means, the pipe is called a shisha pipe because it's hashish. And he loved to smoke. But these days, nowadays, they mix it with tobacco that's very sticky and gummy. It's cured in molasses. But Hakim knew that I was not a tobacco smoker. So for me, when we would smoke, he'd put mostly hashish in the pipe. So we're smoking away. This is like 2004. And so I stop him and say, Papa, which is what I called him. I spontaneously started calling him Papa. In 1998, I looked in my journals. That's just out of the blue. He was like my spiritual father, so that's why I called him Papa. So I said, Papa, did you have the Grateful Dead here in the house? He said, oh, sure. I took another long hit. Pause. Papa, did you smoke shisha with the Grateful Dead? He said, sure. I said, oh, my God. Another long drag. Then I said to him, Papa, did you smoke shisha with Jerry Garcia? And he said, you mean the guitar player? And I cracked up. That's what it was to him. I'm telling this O'Teal, you could be a beggar off the street or you could be a prince of Africa, which he had in his house. It was all the same to him. Everybody was so it was just, the guitar player. So I said, yeah, the guitar player, only one of the greatest musicians who ever lived. Yeah, but that was the story. And that's why I had to share with you. And that was a bond right away because you became friends with the Dead. You played with Dead. Yeah.
And, I got off Facebook 10 years ago. And I was like, I knew that I was like, I'm going to have to get on Facebook to really get a hold of this dude. And sure enough, I went back on and I was like, yo, man, I played with the guys in the Dead. You were like, what?
Yeah.
And so I just, man, to hear that story, and that sounds just like them, that they would just wander in there after sometime and knock on some dude's door.
His door was always open. You see, he would tell his wife never to lock the front door. If somebody came into Egypt 2:00 in the morning and took a cab down to his house and had to see him knock on the door, he would get up, get dressed, put up the shisha pipe, and talk. So his door was never closed. It was always open. And it was an international hostel because I met people that would visit him from all around the world. And he spoke 7 languages. I mean, he could speak everybody's language. And so, his door was always open. So all they had to do was come to the door, knock on the door, and said, hey, we told you we were supposed to meet Hakim. Come on in and sit down and smoke. And
let's tell the people a little bit about him because you wrote 2 books, which is how I found him, Land of Osiris and
From Light into Darkness.
From Light into Darkness. My brain is mush. I'm still on time zone flopping.
I know.
And these kind of spelled out Hakim's teachings. But, he was an indigenous. Tell how he was chosen by the women.
He was an oral wisdom keeper in that he didn't write things down. But he had a beloved uncle, his mother's brother. He got into the whole idea of matriarchy, of identifying with his mother's family instead of his father. So he dropped his father's last name, which was Hassan, and he took his mother's last name, Awyan, as his name.
Which is significant in a Muslim culture. I mean, Egypt is really Muslim, man.
Very, very patriarchal and very sexist, right? And I'll tell the story how he stopped being a Muslim too. But his mother's brother adopted Hakim as his son, and he took care of him his whole life and helped him out because he was a very influential person. So at 6 years old, he was sent to study with a Sufi master. 6 years old. Now, it was common in those days the boys to go to learn the Quran. But Hakim memorized the Quran. He knew it always. I used to see arguments in the house. He had a friend that was a bricklayer named Saeed, who actually built his father built Hakim's house. And they would argue about things in the Quran. And Hakim would call his daughter, Mariam, bring the Quran. And he was always right. He had memorized the Quran, but that wasn't the important thing. The Sufi master, whose name was Ismail, who had a name in Arabic called Zen Nar. Nar is fire in Arabic. Zen is not an Arabic word. Zen Buddhism. Nobody knows the origin of the word. He did. He said it came from a glyph Zim, which meant consciousness. Why? Because Zen Buddhism is you meditate. What are you doing when you meditate? You're raising your consciousness. So that's where the word comes from. So the Sufi master told him that there had been a previous civilization there, that was much older than it was being taught in school. Didn't give him a date, no date, but then told him that the pyramids were not tombs, and the Sphinx was much older than they were taught. Again, didn't give him a date. And he carried that information forward with him. And the story that goes, another story that's great is he again, his house, his village was juts up right next to the Giza Plateau. From his bedroom window, when he would wake up in the morning, he would look right at the Sphinx.
Yeah.
So it was his playground. The Giza Plateau was his playground. He knew the plateau better than anybody ever was. So when he was 8 years old, he was stumbling around on the plateau, got into a tomb, went down. He's 8 years old. He looked up what was on the walls. He said, I have to know what's written on the walls. I have to know what's written on the walls at 8 years old. And nobody knew how to translate the glyphs better than he did. He understood, he became that. So he went on, and the whole thing is he then had an academic career. His uncle got him into what was in Fuad University in the late 40s. He missed World War II, but he was in the military right after World War II. So he got it from 1948 to 1952. He went to Fuad University. It's now Cairo University. He graduated with dual degrees in archaeology and Egyptology, which is very interesting because a lot of Egyptologists are not archaeologists.
Yes.
And not trained. He was the greatest archaeologist I ever knew in my life. I'm telling you, OTO, we could be walking around. He would see a potsherd on the ground. Potsherd is just a little piece of a pottery. I don't have it here now, but I could show you one. And he would look at it, immediately tell me what dynasty it was from, how old it was from, what material it was from, just by looking at it, not even picking it up. That's how great he was as an archaeologist. He was great. He loved archaeology. And that's something we shared because my history is I studied archaeology with a great teacher, Francois Bourd, at the University of Bordeaux in 1974, and I fell in love with archaeology. So that was a connection we had. So, but the teacher never told them how old it was and everything. He said to me, Stephen, of all the things his master taught him, the best thing taught him how to meditate. To meditate, not just use the left brain, but use the right brain, to go on the sites and connect with the energy of the sites. And that's what we tried to do on tour. The tour didn't go exactly like I wanted it to do, but we did a lot. The whole idea was, as Hakim would teach for both sides of the brain, he would go to a site, tell you what's on the walls, what the tomb was, what the netter was, netter being God and goddess. People don't know the word netter. It's translated as God and goddess, but it isn't. It's a force of nature. It's an aspect, a sense that we have within us. And I'll explain. But he would teach that, what's written, what's there, blah, 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 blah. Then he said, now, let's meditate. Let's connect with the energy itself. Let the netter speak to you. And that's what we tried to do on site. And you did it. You went and touched the stone like I told you to do. And you and Jeffrey were touching the stone and everybody. And we would do as much meditation as we could because the sites speak. They are not dead. It's not a dead civilization. It's still living. The energy is still there. It's still active. And he would teach us that we're innately born with 360 senses.
Yes.
180 we label feminine, 180 we label masculine. Those are the gods and goddesses. But he would say that we have them within us. Like every great master, from Jesus to Moses to Buddha to all the masters you can mention, have always said, you can't find God out there unless you find God in here within.
Yeah.
We would say the whole idea is to have the netters speak to you directly, and you get that consciousness within. And that's what the whole idea was. That's what the whole idea of the tour was, which both Patricia and I teach, is to have you connect personally. And you did it. I mean, the small group that we formed who really got it, understood that, and would go lay on the stone, touch the stone, feel the energy of the sites. Because he would, and it's a clip I played for you guys when I played video of him. He would say, no, I don't want to be insulting, but you think you only have 5 senses. You are crippled.
Yeah, and we are. Look at the state of things. But it's also when you say you have to the actual physical things themselves also are imbued with energy. That it all vibrates.
Everything has consciousness. Everything. He hated labels. Labels, he said, limit this. You say this is this, and it's not that. But see, quantum physics tells us today it's this and it's that too. Everything is, that's the yin yang sign. You know, the yin yang sign, you have in darkness, you have a spot of light. In light, you have a spot of darkness. That means that it's all within. It's everything is still connected. One of his primary teachings that I put in the second book, From Light to Darkness, there is no separation. Every cause is an effect.
Absolutely.
Every effect is a cause. It's all consciousness. So stone has consciousness. And this is what I was trying to
It
tell
has energy. I felt it.
it speaks
I
to you.
felt it,
The
dude.
sight,
It's
the
like,
stone speaks. That's right. It speaks
yeah.
to you. And if you're
Well,
open
it
to
was
it,
created to vibrate too, like the obelisk, and that you said water runs through there and it
exactly.
vibrates it and creates a
Because the
sound.
stone, they understood geology almost better than we do today. They understood that they chose the stone. The hardest stone is called igneous rock that forms from a volcano. The first one that cools is basalt. It's sometimes, excuse me, sometimes called black granite. There's no such thing as black granite. It's basalt. It has the least amount of crystal. As it cools, more and more crystals. Second is diorite, which was the favorite stone of the Cometians. We'll talk about the Serapeum. Most of the stones in there are what are called porphyritic diorite. Diorite has a lot of mica, which has crystal in it. It's the most resonant of stone. It was their favorite stone. But then the last to cool is granite. Granite has the most crystal in it. And that's why it's the hardest stone. It's 7 on the Mohs scale, MOHS. That's what geologists use to date the hardness, to test the hardness of stone. Diamond being 10, ruby being 9. So granite is 7 because of the quartz. To cut granite, you have to cut through quartz. So it's 7. It's very hard. So they chose the hardest stone because of its vibratory ability, its ability to produce resonant to sound. As I told you before you came, that the people that got it the most, all the tours I did, 21 tours over 25 years now, the people that got it the most were musicians, always, because your life is sound. You know the power of sound. You've played in front of 60,000 people. You know what sound can do to people and how it can, and they understood that better than we do today. We're just learning it today. The power of sound and water. That's what they use.
But that's how they got the anti-gravity to do. Because this is the thing that gets me. You know, people ask me, you know, what was it like? You know, how did you change? And I said, I have zero. I have an even lower tolerance for gaslighting that I had, which was already at 0. Now I'm way in the negative because I spent 13 days looking at the impossible, an explosion of art that is simultaneously an explosion of engineering and science that we still
Nothing
can't
was
figure out
separate all
today.
together.
So
Science,
here's what
engineering, art, all together. It was
exactly all at once, right brain and left brain fully integrated.
using all the
And so
senses.
then you sit there and you're like, all the dating, it's at the most, any, I guess, even at Harvard. So you're going to tell me that they cut these. So we're not even talking about how they moved the stones in the first place.
Anti-gravity.
But how did you cut them with copper and bronze tools? Like,
Impossible.
it's gaslighting. It's just stop it. Just stop it.
There actually been fools that have tried to do it. They've actually tried to do it, and you say, "Look at this! It's a piece of crap." He said, "You know, you got to talk at what engineers call precision and tolerance." You saw perfect right angles in granite, perfect right angles, perfect squares, perfect and rounded. This is one thing the engineers got blown. We had a couple of engineers on our tour.
Yeah, and I saw him. He was like waiting because there was like a line to go around to see this cut mark.
Mark Ghost, he was blown away.
I saw his face. He was like,
granite that's rounded. How did they round granite? I mean, impossible with the tools that they say they had.
And also with the dates too. So, you know, it's like the fact that it's much older means that the whole copper, bronze, stone, all that's out the friggin' window, man. Like all of it, it's out the window. You know, so I can hardly, you know, being back now stateside, it's like everything. It's not just Egyptology.
It's everything.
It's all the gaslighting. I'm like, God, that's all there is gaslighting.
It's in my second book. If people read it, we're in this stage. Here we talk about 5 stages of the sun. As the sun moves through its daily cycle, also represented different eras in our prehistory and states of consciousness. So when I would start, we talk about from Kepler to U to Ra to Un to Aten to Amen. So
So
when I
let's
first started
explain
doing
that to everybody. That those
okay,
five.
5 stages of the sun. The dawn is called Kepler. It's the scarab beetle, which is a hermaphrodite, both male and female. Why did they choose the scarab beetle?
Like Adam.
Right. That's where Adam comes from Atum. Atum was one of the
But
first
I
people.
know, but I'm just saying, I'm just pointing out the
Well,
similarity.
what you see that because they observed nature. The scarab beetle is hermaphrodite, lays its egg, and then finds some dung from an animal like camels in Egypt, puts the egg in it, and rolls it in front. So they say, oh, that's like rolling the disk of the sun at dawn. So that's why so it's the birth of consciousness. Second stage is Ra. And people say, oh, that's the sun god. And we'd say, no, thanks for playing. It's only 1/5 of the understanding. Ra is the sun at noon. It's the adolescent state of consciousness. And it was the ram. They chose the ram originally because before the donkey, the ram was considered a very stubborn animal. Stubborn.
Yeah.
It's so they said it's like teenage consciousness. When we're teenagers, we think we know everything, right? We think we got it all down. No, we're not there yet. Third was which is a man standing on a staff. Now you've become mature. You've achieved some level of consciousness. But the fourth stage is Aten or Itin. And it's an old man, which I am now. I'm in the Aten stage of consciousness on a staff. You've become fully aware, fully conscious. It's the height of consciousness. But then it goes to Amen, which is hidden. There's no image. It's darkness. It's night. It's separation. It's duality. So when I give my lectures originally 25 years ago, I'd say to people, oh, what stage of consciousness do you think we're in now? And everybody says, oh, we're in Aten. We're the most perfect. I said, wrong. Thanks for playing. We're in Amen. For the last 5,000 years, we've been in darkness. We've been in the hidden. That's what religion is all about, to keep people separated, not together, not to think of duality. Us and them, race, black, white, brown. All of that is bullshit. There was no race in ancient Kemet. And this is why, you get a lot of people who attack me who want to say that all the Cometians were black because it's Africa, so they were all black. Well, they're our enemies as much as the white people are, because no, Hakim would say, what Kemet was all races of people. People came from Asia. People came from Southern Europe, all over Africa. So yes, there were black Africans, of course, but there was no concept of race.
And Hakim says that he has an Afrocentric take on it himself,
Exactly. He was proud of his black African blood on his mother's side. He comes from the Berber tribe. The Berbers were tall. Hakim was tall for an Egyptian, about 6'1". And so the Berbers were black. And so he was proud of that. But he would tell people, no, they were not all black. There was no race. The only thing that was important to the ancient Cometians, and we're saying Cometian because Kemet was the word of the civilization. It meant black land, not black skin. And he would say it was only important who your mother's tribe was, because it was a matriarch.
Yes,
that determined your status, your mother's tribe, not the color of your skin, not even male, female, because women were not just equal in the civilization, they were venerated. They were considered.
That's what I want to get to this point too, because this is what so many misconceptions about Egypt stem from them not realizing it was matriarchal. And I think misconceptions about a lot of Greek stuff too, like I bet money the Eleusinians were matriarchal.
Well, the Oracle at Delphi was a woman. She was
that's what I'm saying.
Even Alexandria went to talk to her before he went out and conquer. So still, the Greeks were patriarchal. The Greeks changed the definition. The word pharaoh comes from the Greeks. Okay,
that's what I wanted to point out. This is like
about 5 pers. Pers house.
Yeah,
Pers was the high house. It was the woman's house. But the Greeks coming in were only interested in kings and their sons. So they only looked at the king and they saw and they turned it to pharaoh. So I would stop when I start giving a lecture. I would say to people, everyone, one of us, including myself, has used the word wrong. There were no male pharaohs. They were the horse. They were a king. They were the male head of the tribe. That's who the priests would venerate, make statues to, and put all this garbage about. But the woman was the one who chose. She chose her mate. He was the one considered Horus. He would be king. Was the female, always. And so when I did my second master's thesis at San Jose State University, 1978, in front of the Women's Studies Department, I documented, this is 25 years before I met Hakim. I knew it was a matriarchy. I documented 5 women for certain, 7 possibly, now 7 for sure, who took the male role as king. And the civilization started with a woman who's the face of the Sphinx represents today, a Black African woman who's the face of the Sphinx is today. And the last one was Cleopatra. And she was the 7th woman who had that title. So she's technically Cleopatra the 7th. She was the last king of Egypt, not queen. Every time you see her on television, on Smithsonian, on the History Channel, Queen Cleopatra, Queen Cleopatra. No, she was king.
I want to show this picture too, because this is I got from you. And so what this shows is the lady has her arm around him like this, and then she has her hand over his arm. So what this is showing is that she's in charge. She's
presenting him. He is the king I have chosen. And their brother and sister. Their brother and sister. There was no incest. A man would marry, they didn't have the word marry, but would consort with his sister if she chose him, not because of a sexual thing, because of a political thing, because of a tribal thing. She chose him. So she's that's a very famous triad, which is in the old museum, not in the new museum.
Yeah, we saw it. Yeah.
She's presenting him.
I saw a bunch in there and took pictures of them because this is the only one that I've normally seen.
I have tons
to see some other ones in there in the old museum. I was like, oh man, this is crazy.
The woman is always presenting the male. He's the one I have chosen. He is your king. I have chosen him because I am the I am the power behind the throne. This is why Isis, whose proper name is Izet, has a throne on her head. Yeah. She decides, she takes her brother, Osiris Wizard, and she makes him her consort, and she's the king. But Hakim said originally it was a high chair, and that the woman of the house, which is again a mistranslation in Egyptology, I'll explain for all the Egyptologists out there, that they use the word Hemeti. They use it as mean God's wife or chief royal wife. There was no word wife in their language. Hakim said it meant woman of power. Your wife, my wife, are the Hemet in our house. They are the boss. We're just living in their house. And so the high chair was a throne that every woman was supposed to sit on with her feet off the ground, and she was to be served. Totally the opposite the way things are patriarchy today. We're taught, especially in the last couple of 100 years, the woman cooks the meal, she makes the food, and she gives it to her husband first. And then she feeds
the woman washed Jesus' hair with her, washed his feet with her hair. They go all the way.
No, she was a priestess. Oh, you want to go back? There's a book about that called The Woman.
I know. That's a whole nother podcast.
I know, but listen, as we're taught it was taught in patriarchy, the woman eats last. It was the opposite in Kemet, even in the dynastic times. Once a daughter, like your daughter, would reach the age of around 8, she then made the food. Mama would be seated. Mama would be fed first, then would be the husband, then would be the children. That's the order.
We're going to have to do that now, except for I don't know if Kavi's ready to cook everything yet.
She will. She
wants to.
She'll want to cook and make the meals as soon as she can.
She's ready right now. It's so clear.
So this is it. The Greeks used to make fun of the dynastic Commissions. They used to say, the man is just an occupant in his wife's house. But yet the Commissions looked at the big Greeks as barbarians.
Yeah, I'm like, what did you do?
They wouldn't eat off the same plate that a Greek ate. They wouldn't use the same fork that a Greek ate. They considered them barbarians who did not understand what it was all about.
Everybody wants to get so cocky about themselves and about it, but they still can't build a pyramid. So I'm like, you know what? You build one of those, and I will bow down. But if you could build one of those, you wouldn't require me to bow down.
We figured it would take a team of 80 people, not thousands and thousands, 80 people to build a pyramid. And again, you have a lot of people that maybe even people you've interviewed or seen interviewed. I don't want to mention names, but there's very popular people in the alternative field. They go on like Joe Rogan, who I refused to go on with. I was invited to be on Joe Rogan. He talked about gaslighting. I would never go on with him.
Really? Anyway, you were invited to be on Joe Rogan?
Oh yeah.
He's hip to
aliens 5 times. My publisher is David Hatcher Childress. We were once good friends,
yeah.
colleagues. I turned down Ancient Aliens. We'll talk about. See, if we talked about aliens now, as I told Stephanie on her podcast, it would take up the whole time. We can do another podcast just about aliens if you want. Okay, but
Definitely, I'm going to do like 5 or 6.
Yeah, they trivialize the subject. That's why I wouldn't go.
Yeah, it's all.
But there's a person who goes on Joe Rogan and says nobody knows how the pyramids were built, and I say wrong. You don't know, but Hakim knew, and you alluded to it. They use sound to produce anti-gravity fields. If there's no gravity, there's no mass, there's no weight. 100-ton block of granite, your daughter could lift with her pinky and put it in that position if there's no gravity. That's how they built the pyramids. And that's how they carved the stone. They used a machine, a little device that had diamond tips, because they understood diamond could cut granite, but they produced a sonic wave that would go into the stone and alter the physics of the stone so they could cut it like it was butter.
Wow.
By the use of sound. That's why I told you sound was so important. And it was so wonderful to me because I was telling you what tone we would hit and what the Great Pyramid's about. And you went in there and it's on video because people videoed you saying, any tone works. Every tone works.
For many years, I had a suspicion that 440 was wrong. All the different orchestras in Europe used to tune to different tunings.
Which is A.
And so, but it would be A for 448, it would be A 437. You know, everybody wasn't on the same tuning, and then when they chose it, it was 440. Absolutely. And I kept seeing this number 432 recurring, and I had the suspicion that that was the ancient tuning. So when I learned that the chambers were actually tuned, which is probably more like the sound hospital at Saqqara. Right. But I was like, well, when I get in the Great Pyramid, if I ever go, I'm going to take like a tuner and find out, is it 440 or 432, right? So then I get in, I finally am in, and I'm like, all right, here we go. And I went just like, which if you do it in the bathroom.
I wish I had been there for that.
There's some note that will stick out and ring.
Right.
And that's the resonant frequency of that room. Lots of bathrooms do it.
Right.
And you could find them a lot in tunnels.
Right.
So then when I finally got in there, I did that and nothing stuck out. So I just kind of went chromatically starting high and every tone ran.
Every tone.
I was like, which to me is also a mystery, like how could every frequency be a resonant frequency?
The granite.
You know,
it's because of the granite.
So it's like it doesn't matter, at least not in the King's Chamber. 432, 3, 434, 435, all the way up to 440 and past. They all ring. I was just like, wow, man. So we just hit one. Then we added the 5th. We added some other stuff in there, and it was just mind blowing.
Because what happens is once you hit the tone, the granite picks up the tone, and it sings back to you in all frequencies. In all frequencies.
Now, didn't Hakim say that, like, water rushing through there made the tone happen?
Well,
also,
when he found out who I was and my background in archaeology, prehistory, and metaphysics, all the metaphysical things, when he knew, he told me, Stephen, I want you to concentrate on our work together on water and sound. The knowledge that the ancients had and the interplay of both. Because sound travels faster in water.
In water, exactly. Yeah.
So the Giza Plateau is a giant water table. There's water rush. All the sites, particularly the Boo Wizard sites, which is the land of Osiris, from Dashur in the north to Abu Roash in the north to Dashur in the south, there's running water underneath. The running water activates the granite, the crystal, and produces infrasound. We can't hear it, but we can feel it. It's beyond the normal range of human hearing, but we feel it. And so that's why the sites are still active. The water's still running, the stone is still there, and the stone is still singing. That's why.
So the water is still running under there today.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why when I touched it, I could feel it.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize that. I thought everything had just dried up, because it's so
That's what people think. You see, because again, there was a major cataclysmic event, which people talk about the end of the ice age, 12,000 years ago. There's different theories what happened. Some people think it was a comet, think it was a meteor strike. Dr. Robert Schoch thinks it was solar flares. Something happened which ended the Great Pyramid as being an active machine. That's why.
Is that where that crack happened?
If you notice the ceiling of the King's Chamber, there were cracks. That's when there was an explosion. This is in Chris Dunn's book, The Giza Power Plant. There was an explosion that happened, hydrogen explosion in the Great Pyramid. It ended its function as an active machine, but it didn't end its function still as a vibratory acoustic machine, which is what we call it. So yes, the water's still running. It's still activating the granite. You still can feel it. That's what you can. As soon as you made your tones, the granite came alive and started singing with you. That's
when we were there the first day, or the next day, I came in the night before, the next day, the Great Pyramid.
Okay.
I put my hand on it.
I have pictures of you and Jeffrey.
And dude, just tears just came streaming
because it's
down my face. Because I could feel. I was like,
feel it. You could feel it. You couldn't hear it, but you could feel it because you have the ear for sound more than most normal people because you're a great musician. But still, it's what we call infrasound. It's beyond the normal range of, but it's still vibrating.
It does something inside it.
It was like the Sphinx. That's why I told both you guys to touch the Sphinx, and I have a photograph of both you and Jeffrey putting it on the raw stone. She's still vibrating. She's vibrating after 54,000 years. She's still vibrating.
My favorite picture is when you're standing there like this in front of the Sphinx. Because you like, this is my last time. I want to see her.
Goodbye to her.
Calling you as a child.
It
was so deep for me.
On the picture from the front, you would have seen the tears coming down my tears. Saying goodbye to her. She's been the guide of my life. This is what I say when people find out about me, about 8 years old. My mother used to subscribe to the two great pictorial magazines of the day, Life magazine and National Geographic. I picked up an issue of National Geographic. I saw an image of the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx, and I never was the same again. But at that age, I couldn't articulate what it was. The Sphinx is my main guide. People have different guides. Some people have guides that were their ancestors, famous people who have lived, whatever, extraterrestrials, whatever. You have different guides. But the Sphinx has been my main guide all my life. She led me to Egyptology. She led me back to Egypt. She led me to Abd'El Hakim. She led me to this whole story. And that was my goodbye to her. She's still always there it is.
That makes me serious.
There it is.
Because I knew you were saying hello and goodbye all at once.
Exactly. All in the same place. Yep.
I've got the video of you opening the gate.
Yes.
Walking in.
Yes.
From the whole thing, I got the whole, and it just.
I know. I have it. It's beautiful. Because I told Amir, our guide, I have to be the one to open it up and go to her, and he said sure. And he let me go in first, which was beautiful. And
shout out to Jeffrey Price Tater. He took all of these pictures.
I know. He's incredible. And when my wife Teresa saw that picture, she started to cry because she knew it was me saying goodbye to her. My final salutation.
It gets me, man. It really gets me. She's
always going to be with me. It's not that she's still always going to be with me.
Well, there's no time and space.
It was just in the physical. I'm saying goodbye to you. Thanks for bringing me back again. I always would say thank you to her for bringing me back to Egypt 24 times. 24 times over 33 years I went to Egypt. But that's the whole
story. A great number, 24. I'm going to try to hit that. I'm starting late, man, but now that I know, like it's so transforming. So I want to stick to I want to stick with this water thing because when we went to Serapeum,
yes,
this was, if I'm not mistaken, my brain might have been shut off by that point. But you were saying that water came through there too. Like these things look like they look like coffins, but they're not. Unless
we don't know for sure. Many people have different ideas. My wife thinks they used the boxes to transport telepathically to other dimensions. They did, but that was later. What was its original purpose? It like Chris Dunn said, the Great Pyramid was a power plant. I think the Serapeum was a power station, that the boxes were used to charge the water. I originally think that the tunnels were flooded and the boxes would be vibrating with the water, producing energy, combining with the pyramids, with the whole land of Osiris to produce sound. And again, people would say, well, when I was first interviewed by George Norrie for Coast to Coast AM, which used to be Art Bell, who was the one who first, all the great extraterrestrial UFOs started in the late 90s. Yeah, with Art Bell. I was supposed to be interviewed with him. His back went out. And George Norrie sat in. That was the first time George Norrie ever took over. He's still doing it today, 25 years later. So he would say, okay, Stephen, so this was for producing free energy. I would say Nikola Tesla did not invent free energy. He only rediscovered it. The Commissions were creating free energy. That you didn't have to pay a meter, PG&E and all those fucking bills that you have to pay for energy. So he would say, well, what did they use the energy for? I said, George, what do we use energy for? To power the civilization. The sound was used for healing. That's what the Serapeum was all about, the hospital. Sound for healing, sound to raise consciousness, to keep you in that state of walking with
everything. Anti-gravity. Sun Ra said it. Sun Ra, when he's on Night Music with David Sanborn, he said sound can do a lot of things.
He was amazing.
Sound can wash clothes. We know sound can be a weapon.
And there's another connection that I have with you. I was very deeply, I have had 2 African-American brothers before you that I was deeply connected. One that I can talk to you some other time, named Porky, that I did drama with him. He was a great actor and director. That's how I got my chops as an artist, directing and acting. I'm still acting now. I'm acting as the Egyptologist. So, and the other one was Eddie Gale, who I told you to look up on YouTube, a great jazz musician. He played with Sun Ra. He was in Sun Ra's orchestra. He played with John Coltrane. I mean, this is a guy that I was really close to. So when you mentioned Sun Ra, I thought, oh my God, Eddie played with Sun. And he would always say, space is the case. Space was where
space is the place. Yeah.
Space is the place. Space is the place. Right. Right.
So no, he knew it. He knew sound was the key.
Absolutely. All of them.
And he always said, mankind's problem is that he is out of tune with the universe. This is exactly Hakim, right? Like
that's sound can
everything. It can heal, it can kill, it can wash your clothes, it can do all kinds of things, you know.
Did you ever hear of Raymond Royal Rife, who invented the Rife machine? Oh, this was a guy who claimed he could cure cancer, claimed he could kill that there was a sound frequency to it. He could produce a Rife generator that could kill bacteria, that could kill viruses. And yet the AMA blocked them. You talk about gaslighting. The AMA blocked them.
They're getting their money off the comeback, man. You got to stay sick. You can't get cured.
That's why they couldn't. That's why Tesla's inventions were suppressed. Tesla's ideas were suppressed. He was saying we can tune into the frequency of the universe. We don't need to have fucking meters on our machines, our electricity, blah blah blah. There's free energy.
Is like when you think of the power of water, wind, the power of the
solar energy. Again, that was the third aspect Hakim said. Sound, water, and solar power. That's what power did.
And that's how they've and now tell people about the disc, the spinning disc, because I had heard about this thing. And they say in the museum that it's
and you found it. You found it for me. I didn't know if they had
I just walked around the corner and I was like, I thought so I tell our fans when we got there, the Grand Egyptian Museum, the new museum, which is bigger than the Louvre, was set to open. That's supposed to open for years and years and was late.
So we went to the old museum.
Yeah, so I thought all the cool stuff is going to be gone.
No.
And I walk around the corner and there's the disc. So they found the spinning
all
disc.
The cool stuff was in the old museum. Dude. They didn't want to bring it over. So, okay, Hakim was the only one who identified this purpose. These discs were found in a second dynasty tomb of a priest named Sabu. They were all found broken. There was only one that had 2 of the 3 wheels intact, and that's what they brought to the old museum. But they said it was a place for lotuses. That's what the label was in the old museum originally. But it was upstairs.
Look at it and tell it's not that. Come on.
Well, Hakim would say, first of all, they say it's schist. From our geologist friend, we found it's not schist. She called it a meta-sedimentary stone, which means it had crystal. He called it African crystal. It would spin, produce an ultrasound. That sound would go to what he called a mirror, which wasn't there. It wasn't with the disc. They didn't have the full thing, but there was like a stone slab of the same material. This wave would hit the stone slab, come back. It would produce a sine wave. In the wells of that sine wave, there was no gravity. It would produce an anti-gravity field. This was demonstrated. Now, you know that John Anthony West and Robert Schoch did a video. I have it.
Yeah, Eric, if you want to put it up, it's on my October 24th post, the last picture.
Right. It was first demonstrated in a video done in 1992. John Anthony West got Dr. Robert Schoch, redated the Sphinx. The Sphinx is much older. He said it's water erosion. It's not wind and sand. It was from rainfall. And he, well, not to go any further. But anyway, they won 2 Emmys for it. For best 1982. I knew the director worked with it. I got an original copy of it. So there they had an acoustic engineer named Tom Danley, who worked in sound rooms. He was an acoustic engineer like you've worked with. And he demonstrated levitation of stones, little pebbles, with just sound waves. So he demonstrated scientifically the principle that sound could actually create anti-gravity. So it's already been produced since. He's going through all the pictures. There you go.
The women with their arms around the guy.
That's from the museum. Yep. They're presenting him. Yep. See how she presents him? That's my man. I've chosen him to be kept. Yeah. She's the perfect pictures. Yeah. She is the one. Right. These are beautiful images. There she is. Always with her arm around him. Yeah. I'm presenting him. I am presenting him. He is the one I have chosen. Hakim would say the woman always chooses. We think we go after a woman and we seduce them to go to bed with us. Hakim said it's always the woman that chooses. Always. Always.
But tell them about the disc. They did the
so this was a 1992. He did
there it is. That's it right there.
That's it right there. Originally it only had 2 lobes. Now it's got 3. They reconstructed the 3. It would produce an infrasound. You see, it's got a spoke in the middle. How is this a ceremonial disc for lotuses and it's got a hole in the middle?
It's got holes everywhere.
It's spin. And it would spin at an ultrasonic frequency, produce a sound wave. That sound wave would hit another part of stone made of the same material, come back, produce what's called a sine wave. In the wells of that sine wave, Tom Danley demonstrated that there is no gravity. If there is no gravity, there's no mass, there's no weight. So they would use dozens of these, producing anti-gravity fields, take the granite blocks, and just put them in position. So we could say a team of 80 people, men and women, because women were engineers and scientists in Kemet, could have built the Great Pyramid. And they could have built it in less than 20 years.
That's what got me.
No, I'm telling you, you want to talk about the Serapeum. Chris Dunn went to the largest granite manufacturer in the United States that works with doing granite. And he showed him a picture of one of the boxes. And he says, how would you do this? He said, first of all, we wouldn't do it out of one piece. We would take the different sides and bolt them together. Yeah. He said, no. The ancients did it out of one piece. How would you do this? So the guy said, I don't know how we would do it, but the starting bid would be $1 million. We still couldn't do it today. I can't tell you how many engineers I've had with me. I mean, Martin Luce was just one of many engineers that I've brought, and they all come with the left brain mind, not interested in the metaphysics, not interested in spirituality. I want to see how they did it. How they do it? And they'd look at these things and said, holy crap, holy fuck, is what they would say. How could they do this in granite and diorite? We can't do that today. We've only been able to use with diamond tool work in the last 50 years to do the work in granite that we do.
But we still can't move the stones.
No. The largest crane is in China, and it can now probably lift 200 tons like they did. But you see, the unfinished obelisk that I took everybody to weighs 1,200 tons. The Chinese could do it today, but it would be very difficult, and they would have to charge a lot of money to do it. So it's only in the last 20 years that we can even begin to move the amount of stones that they did. And there's even a larger stone in Baalbek, Lebanon, which we took people on a extension, went to Lebanon to Baalbek. Now this is limestone, not granite. but the woman they called the pregnant mother is 1,500 tons of limestone. The Romans could not possibly have done that. Neither could the Phoenicians. Hakim always said that Lebanon was part of Kemet. That what we're going to see there is part of what was ancient Kemet. And there's no doubt. When we went to there, we saw the same type of machining, the same type of engineering that we see in Egypt is in Lebanon and in Peru. And in Peru.
Yeah.
This was a global maritime culture where people, there's a great researcher named Gunnar Thompson wrote a book called American Discovery, which he documented all the groups that came to America before Columbus, including the Chinese that came in 1500 BCE. It's documented. Came to the West Coast of the United States.
And
all around the world, they shared this knowledge.
That Mayan headdress, you took us to see the thing, and you took it to the Mayan wisdom keeper, the pictures.
That's right.
But there's this one cat, something with the S, Sati, something with the S, I thought. But he has this headdress. You don't see it anywhere. Satet, right?
And it took a Mayan woman. I had this woman, she was going to come back on this tour and she couldn't afford it. I was so sorry. Her name Myra Alvarado. She has Mexican blood, Mayan blood, and Basque blood. So she understood the connection between those cultures. She's the one that took me back to that back room and said, Stephen, look at that headdress. I said, yeah. She said, that's a Mayan headdress. Those are quetzal flowers. I said, holy shit. And I took a picture of it. And
yeah, because I didn't see that headdress anywhere else.
Never. It's Mayan headdress. So the Mayans were in Egypt 3,300 years ago. That's what we showed when I showed the glyph on the walls of a calendar that the Mayan elder said, yes, that's an ancient calendar. And the Mayan archaeologists would laugh at me. No, the Mayans didn't exist 3,300 years ago. Well, they just found a site in Mexico that they're dating now to 1100 BCE, which is 3,100 years ago, only 200 years less than what this glyph is. So yes, the Mayans were in Egypt 3,300 years ago. And the Commissions also went to Peru. They also went to Peru. They went all around the world. There's a wall in Australia that's in the outback. It's not near Sydney, near a major city, a granite wall. They're Egyptian glyphs.
Yes,
I documented that's actually Egyptians got to Australia.
I saw that right before I left for Egypt.
Called the Gosford glyphs.
Pictures on my phone in here somewhere.
People can Google it. Just Google Gosford, Gosford, Gosford glyphs.
Yes.
And they were discovered in the 1920s when they didn't even know about fucking glyphs. It could have been forged. At first, I thought it was a forgery because the glyphs are very crude. Because it was done by a sailor, not a priest, who basically knew a basic part of around 500 BCE. He knew how to write the language. And it was a shipwreck. His brother had died in the shipwreck. They landed on there. They are.
And dude, on
the coast of Australia, and he documented his brother's death.
I saw those. If you go back, Eric, go back to
there it is.
That cross one there, and then the water one. The rip,
Yep.
Looks like a serrated knife.
It's telling.
Dude,
they were sailing there, and they had a shipwreck, and his brother died in the shipwreck, and he's commemorating his brother's life on the wall in Australia. And the native indigenous people. There it is. And
yes, those right.
They're very crude. They're very crude. So I said, nah. When I first saw that, I said that's a forgery. It's not a forgery. It's in granite. It's nowhere near. And then it was discovered in the 1920s when they didn't even know about the glyphs. Nobody could have forged it.
Well, there's the Mi'kmaq tribe in a Native American tribe.
Right.
Has some Egyptian hieroglyphs in it.
Right.
I remember reading about that. Very, very young, like 20, 40.
Someone told me there are Egyptian glyphs on a Mayan tomb. I've yet to see them. Somebody has to show them to me. But I believe it. Because
you did take that stuff to the Mayan indigenous wisdom keeper that was like the Hakim of the Mayans.
Exactly.
He confirmed it, right?
And his eyes got big as wide. He said, oh my God, that's an ancient calendar. He says, I can't read it, but it's saying the date of when this person who was used, they called him Maya. Maya was a term for men and women in dynastic Egypt. So I said to Papa, I said, in formal Arabic, the word for water is ma or may. If you went to Saudi Arabia, they would give you a cup of water and they'd say it's Ma or May. But they say Maya in Egypt. And I would say, do you think that the original term could have meant the tribe that came from across the water? And he said, yes.
Mm. Yep.
So that's why when you're in Egypt, you could say, I want a bottle of Maya. They bring you water.
That was such a trip that day, man. Like the whole thing was just like, being in the Serapeum definitely has that like Indiana Jones feel.
Oh, man.
Uh, the sound healing hospital was that at
Our
Saqqara?
dear friend Dominic Carlucci had a real as soon as he walked in the Serapeum, he said, I've been here before. I've been here before. Long time ago.
It,
I've been
it
here.
it brings up
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff,
I had
which is
all like you did. The first time I went, there was deja vu all over the place. And I was told I had a woman who passed away. She was my spiritual mother in Northern California. She said, Stephen, when you go to Egypt, you're going to get angry. You're going to be upset of how they've desecrated the temples. And she was right. I went there and I would get angry. Look what the Christians did. Look what the Muslims have done. They've desecrated the temples. That's not the way it was. So I had deja vu every minute the first time I went.
It's funny, man. I came back home super angry.
It's
It wasn't for that reason, but it kind of was. It was more like, look at what we've done to ourselves.
exactly.
We were capable of this.
Exactly.
We're doing
Exactly.
shit. I was
Exactly.
so mad. I am still mad. I'm still mad. I'm not cut off from my joy or my sense of wonder
That's right.
or my sources of inspiration.
Oh.
But dude, I'm walking around pissed off
Actually,
a lot, especially
one of the key phrases he taught us was the word sesh, SESH. The people.
people.
It didn't mean white, black, green, yellow, purple. It didn't
All
mean
the
man,
people.
woman. It didn't mean Jew, Christian, Muslim. Us. We built the pyramids. Everybody together. That's
yeah.
what you saw.
That's why they're all over the world, people. I think it's the free energy network that all these pyramids
That's right.
form a free energy network that
It was a
could
grid. It was a
take
grid.
care of the whole planet.
Absolutely. It was an
But that's
energy
just
grid.
my crazy, I'm crazy.
No, it was to keep us in the highest state of consciousness over
Yeah.
12,000 years ago. And then we fell. When the
But it
cataclysm
has
happened,
to
we
happen.
fell into. But Hakim said it has to happen.
Amen.
The cycles have to come. We go around, we go around, we go around.
That's one thing I really want to point out to people, and because this Amen thing, the 5 stages of the sun.
Yes, the last
And
5,000
I'll send a thing to Eric to show where it's like it's Nut, right, over doing like downward dog over Seb. So
That's the
in
mother.
Egypt, the
Great.
sky god is actually the sky goddess. It's a woman.
Right.
And Mother Earth is Father Earth. Geb is laying down like this. And
Exactly.
Nut is over him in
Exactly.
downward dog from head to toe.
And you see that
So
there's
here's
one
the
other,
head
there's
and
one
pepper.
other nether shoe, which is the principle of air, is separating them.
Yeah.
Separating. And that's the fall from consciousness. In all mythology, they talk about we lived in the golden age and we fell from grace. In the Christianity, it's the devil seduces the woman to eat the apple and become like God. But that's the Jewish version, the patriarchal version. It's we fell from consciousness. And he would say, there's no right or wrong. There's nobody to blame.
This is where
A lot
you're
of
in the
a
cycle.
lot of women in the 70s, when I became a radical feminist, there were a lot of radical lesbians who were calling all men the enemy. You're the fucking enemy. You've suppressed women for fight. You're the enemy. He would say to people, no, there's no enemy. It's the same with slavery. It's the slavery. All black folks should not think all white folks are the enemy, because there were a lot of white folks who worked for abolition, who worked to end slavery. No,
Underground Railroad.
That's the fall from consciousness. It's the fall.
Well, it's like Patricia Awyan Lehman says, we fall into winter and spring into summer.
Exactly.
It's in terms of consciousness. I love that, because nature, you always see like nature's the teacher, man. But I want people to realize this Amen thing. Kepper's the birth here.
Yep.
The
And we go
beginning,
to
and then it goes
at
and then
noon,
Ra's at noon.
and then
Well, Amen is the
consciousness,
sun.
and then Aten, we're in full consciousness, which is Akhenaten, which is the whole theme of my second book. He wanted to return from Amen back to Aten, to go back to the day.
Yes.
And he couldn't because the cycle
You
wasn't
don't go
over.
backwards. You got to go forwards, bro.
Exactly.
But this is what I want people to know. Amen, the last stage, is the hidden God, the
Right.
hidden one.
Right.
That's the sun at night.
Right.
It's not gone. You
No,
just can't see him. That's
that's
why
right.
the Egyptians had no
That's right.
word for death,
That's right.
right?
It
That
was
book of
going to
death
the
is
west. It was
completely
going
wrong.
to the west where the sun goes down. So I always say, Hakim wested the day before your birthday, August 23rd,
Right.
2008. He
23rd.
wested. And I say to people, there was never any person I ever met in my life who was less afraid of dying than he was. He had no fear of death
Well, there's no such thing as death.
because he knew consciousness
You know?
continues. Consciousness continues. So
Yeah.
that's it. I would tell people, even though we're looking out now, it's daylight now. We see the sun. We think we're in daytime. We're still in night. We're still in darkness.
Oh, very much. Very
But
much.
he
We're in
called it.
darkness.
This is why we're talking. This is why we're talking right now. This is why people are doing this. He said the time now was the awakening. The time was now we're going to end Amen and go to Khepr, the scarab beetle, the
Yes.
new dawn. This is the time. He knew he would not live to see it, but he knew
Yeah.
it was going to be
I
happening.
think that Colonel Bruce was the same way. Hold on, let me shut up this yapping dog. Merlin, come here. Merlin.
Merlin.
Merlin. Merlin.
Yeah, he's probably barking because somebody was out there. He's just trying to protect you guys. You know, I gave for her birthday, I gave Patricia a crystal skull, a small crystal skull, a beauty, and she said she named him Merlin.
I love it.
Crystal skulls will tell you their name. I have one that's Meritaten. My wife has one Christos. They'll tell you their name, so she named it Merlin.
I love it. Yeah,
my cat is Cleopatra. You won't see her. She hates this. She hates this electronic.
She doesn't like the camera.
No, she hates it. I would FaceTime my wife from Egypt, and I would talk to Cleopatra. Cleo. She'd look around. Where's Daddy? And she'd say, "Oh, you see that stupid device." And she didn't want to talk about it. She wanted to wait for me to be home. She didn't want to talk about it. Yeah, she hates the phone. She hates when we talk on the computer. But she's Cleopatra, all right. She's the queen. I have a sign that's on my table where I eat. It said, "The cat is in charge. We only live here."
That's right.
She's in charge. Totally. She's the boss. She is the boss.
Oh,
So, yeah, I mean, that's the whole idea. Like, you really did. They looked at animals. They understood nature. They looked at animals. They observed animals. They saw animals were using all their senses, like cats and even dogs, more than we do. And so the whole idea of the temple, which was the house of the spirit, we prefer not to use the word soul, because soul means we're individuals. There is no individual soul. We're all part of one great soul. So we prefer to use the word spirit. So the temple was the place where you'd go to do rituals, initiations, to understand we're more than the body, that we are more than the physical. We have spirit. And that's what the Great Pyramid became. When it stopped its function, when it was functioning, you couldn't go inside like we did. You would have disintegrated. The energy was so high.
I wanted to point out to people, it wasn't meant for people to go in. That's why I'm hurting so bad. It wasn't built for people to go in.
No way. It was to be a
clearly.
As long as the water kept flowing, as long as the rainfall happened, it was to be a perpetual machine to last forever. But then the cataclysm came, the end of the ice age, water dried up, the desert came in, the water no longer came in, and it became a temple of initiation. That's what the Rosicrucians called it. That's what I first learned from the Rosicrucians, that the Great Pyramid was a temple of initiation, not a tomb.
Yeah,
but originally it was a machine, a sonic, a spiritual machine, both left brain and right brain.
It blows my mind to think of the whole plateau resonating with that water. I definitely could feel it. Well, I want to do
the energy would be so incredible as it was, as we can remember, because there was a glyph at Edfu that I wanted to show everybody when they talk about the building texts. There was a sign that said, and these were Ptolemaic Greeks, this was much later, but they said the ancients could walk with the netters, which meant 360 degrees of consciousness, to be enlightened, as we use all the term today, enlightened, to be in the light, to using all our senses. And
Please
every
say
time
that prayer that he says, the light shines on me. Is that
the light surrounds me, the
the
light
light
comes through
surrounds
me, I am the light. That's how he
the
would lead
light
it.
surrounds me?
The light
The light.
surrounds me. The light comes through me. I am the light. And then we'd go into meditation.
Yeah, man. When your concept when you were talking about the netters, it's something that really I maybe it took being in Egypt to really bring it home,
It does.
and probably some of our conversations too that we had with Patricia Lehman. Um, that these things are forces of nature, and I've been trying to explain to friends and family since I've gotten back. I'm like, we are ourselves expressions of these same forces of nature. So
Absolutely.
we cannot be separate from them. We
No.
are them, but we don't have full access to them because we've been gaslit and suppressed into thinking we only have
And
five
we're asleep.
senses.
That's what he would
We're
say. We're asleep.
completely, and Sun Ra
We
said,
think we're awake and we're asleep.
and Sun Ra went even further. Colonel Bruce took me to see him at the Cotton Club in Atlanta. And he's swinging this. It looks like a disco ball on the end of this long chain, and he's just swinging it around. He goes up to the mic and he goes, "Y'all sure look good tonight. How long you been dead?" And that's how he starts. And then Marshall Allen puts the microphone down into the bell of his horn, and just goes, "Wah!" And then 20 people get up and walk out.
Oh, because
And Colonel Bruce leans over to me and he goes, "These suit and tie motherfuckers are getting out of here like it's a fire drill." And
exactly.
you can tell that Son Rob just wanted to clear out all the people that came for a concert. He was like, I'm not entertaining.
He knew.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm retuning
And that was how
everyone and everything.
Eddie Gale used to do what they call free jazz, like Sonny Rollins, like Rashawn Kirk, who used to play 3 different saxophones at one time. Yep. He would blow and blow, and people couldn't handle it. Oh man, it's dissonant, and they would leave. No, man, because then Eddie could play ballads, play sweet melody. No, that's the idea. Because John Coltrane told him when he first met John Coltrane, he was just in his 20s. Coltrane said, "Don't ever stop playing the way you play. Don't ever stop playing the way you play, because that's it. You have to be you." And that sometimes you have to hear that loud dissonance to clear away the bullshit, and then you can get to the sweet harmonic melodies.
Music is everything. I tell my students, if your mother dies, if you had a good mom and you loved her, and your mom dies, when you cry, that sound that comes out of you, is it going to be in a key? No, it's not going to be in any key. It's in the key of pain, despair, mourning. Right? That's what those musicians are. They're like, I'm pissed off. Exactly. I'm sad. I'm depressed. I'm whatever. All these things have to come out of the horn, out of the guitar, out of the bass, out of the drum, out of our voice. We're not in a key. We've gone beyond key, but there's still frequencies. We still know exactly what it means. You can hear exactly what it means.
Just like you have students. Eddie had students, and they'd come to say, "Oh, I want to play like you do." You say, "No, first learn to play ballads. First learn to play the sweet. Then you can go to free jazz like I do, and like Sonny Rollins, who was blessing was also like that, because that's how Eddie came up in the 50s, which they were doing free jazz. And the most angry musician who ever lived was Miles Davis. There was nobody any more angry than he was. That's why he became a junkie. Unfortunately, that's why so many jazz musicians became junkies. Because only heroin could relieve the pain that they were suffering. I mean, Charlie Parker, he was always in pain if he wasn't playing. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Round Midnight.
Dude. All my heroes were the musicians in it. Freddie Hancock is way shorter.
It was with a therapist, and he said, "I'm only happy when I'm playing. Otherwise, it's all."
That's part of the Amen stage. Look, this whole thing, winter's a bitch, man. But spring comes again.
And it's coming.
Man.
What we're doing now. This is what Hakim said about us paying it forward. Patricia and I and whoever's going to come after us. We have to keep the teachings going, paying it forward. Because he said nothing can stop the dawn. like not can prevent the sun
Don't
from
worry.
coming up in the morning. It's going to change the cycles. He would say, we're lucky because the stage of Amen of the 5 stages is always the shortest in time period. You know,
Isn't it
Hakim is
funny? That's the same as the Kali Yuga
Yep.
in India. Kali Yuga, the darkest one is the shortest one.
Isn't that? You see, I showed you a video of this great friend I had in Canada, Satyen Raja from the royal blood of India. And he asked Hakim, where does death come from? And he said, from those who make benefit. And he would say, you know, in India, they teach there's 4 stages. The yugas, there's 4. And Hakim would say, 4. He said, yeah. He said, you say 4, we say 5. It's the same thing. He said, it's the same thing. The Kali Yuga is Amen, of course.
The shortest stage, yeah. And which is where I believe we get this as darkest before the dawn.
Exactly.
The worst, most hardest thing is right before the dawn. You know,
That's what
right
it is now. That's why so many people are fucking asleep. And yet, you know, one of my favorite teachers was Rajneesh, Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, who also go by Osho. He would say, what's the difference? He would say, the difference is both you and I are standing on a mountaintop and we're looking at a beautiful sunset. Only you got your eyes closed and my eyes are open. And I'm shaking you and saying, open your eyes. That's all it is. Wake the fuck up. That's what Hakim and I, the basics, what we would say to people. Wake up. You've been asleep. Religion, government, politics, teachers, parents, they're all conditioned to keep us asleep. You have to learn to wake up. You have to learn to wake up. And it's, I mean, this is why I know why you don't like to go on Facebook and why a lot of people don't like the internet, because 90% of the internet is disinformation to keep us asleep. But
I know
it's okay. This is why every day I go on the internet and I look what's going on around the world at archaeological sites. And I see every day they're finding things that say, hey, what I told Stephanie at the end of her podcast, which I'll say to you, the best message we can send to your people who are listening now is understand you are more than you ever have been taught you are. We have a potential of 360 senses. So people would say to Hakim, well, how do we open them? He'd say, the first thing is to know that you have them.
Yes. And then go in nature.
Hug a tree. I'm a big tree hugger. I'm always hugging trees. I hugged the pine. If you noticed, I hugged the stone. We were in Egypt.
Dude.
Just like you guys did. I would go and hug the stone.
I touched I was like, whoa. And some didn't have that same feeling. Oh, they just didn't. Someone wanted that kind of reddish color in it. Yeah, it was just like,
immediate. Sphinx was once painted yellow and was once painted red to represent there you go.
Dude,
that's it, man.
Day one. I think I'm wearing the same shirt. I'm wearing the same shirt right now.
That's out of sight. And I'm wearing this Galabeya, which has now become my favorite Galabeya, because we went to a store together. You picked one out, and I said, "Oh my God, that's the blue I want." And I got to have one like that. And so yours is a little bluer than mine because it was a large. Mine's extra large. And then you bought it for me. So that's why this is my favorite Galabeya, because you bought it for me.
Wow, this is like, people really
wore that shirt on the plateau. You wore that shirt for the pyramid. Yeah.
That's crazy. Day one. Shout out to Conscious Moon Dice.
You are just like me. It's another thing we share is we each have a million different T-shirts. You have a million different T-shirts you wear. So do I. I have drawers and drawers of T-shirts don't even fit anymore. But I never throw a T-shirt away until it becomes a rag and you got to throw it away. But I have a million T-shirts too, and I wore as many of them in Egypt as I could.
You got all the cool Egyptian ones. I have the coolest tie-dyes. People give me so many times. The greatest tie-dye makers on the planet give me tons of tie-dyes, and I'm really grateful for it. But dude, you have the coolest Egyptian T-shirts all over, man.
The first picture I took of us together is when we saw you in a hotel in Denver, and you were wearing an MMA T-shirt. So I showed it to an Egyptian person. He said, "Oh, this guy is African. He's wearing an African T-shirt." And I said, "No, he loves the MMA. He loves the fighter. That's why he's wearing the T-shirt." But the guy said, "He's African. He must be African. He's wearing an African T-shirt."
Francis Ngannou. Shout out to Francis Ngannou.
Miracle man. I knew the Nubians would flock to you. I knew it. I knew it. That your name, first of all. Oh my God, the young kid said, Oteil, yes, that's a Nubian name. And
That
there's a
was a
play.
first.
There's a famous play, a Nubian play where Oteil's the main character. He says, but they don't name their kids that anymore
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
whatever reason.
all these people thought I
We
was
couldn't find
Egyptian.
another Oteil, but I bet there is one somewhere.
No,
You
I'm
go
gonna
back.
find it. I'm gonna find now that I know that it's a play, it's a Nubian play, and
Exactly.
so Eric is showing all these guys like everybody thought I was Egyptian. I
That's right.
want all of my fans to know.
That's
I
right.
spent 2 weeks in Rwanda with Jess. Oh, now wait a minute, we got to
There's
stop right
Ramadan.
here.
There's Ramadan.
Yeah,
Muhammad Ramadan.
Mohammed Ramadan. This
Hajj
guy
Muhammad.
is a Nubian musician that
Yeah.
was one of Hakim's best friends,
Dearest friends, dear
and
friends.
he came and played that Kisar for us
Yes.
and sang, and it's the most haunting. Like, look at the face on that dude in the middle. I guess is
If
that the son
people,
on
if
the
listen,
left?
if people go and Google the term kissa, Kassa, go on Wikipedia, they will see a picture that says here is a Nubian musician playing the kissa, and it's him. It's
Muhammad
Ramadan. It's
Muhammad
Ramadan.
Ramadan. I've
Muhammad Ramadan.
seen it Kissar.
People have to understand how important this was. It's because he's retired. He used to come on our boat with us. That's his son Tarek, who was our boat master, who led us to Philae.
Yeah.
But he doesn't come out anymore. His wife passed away a couple of years ago. He went into retirement. He doesn't come out. He doesn't come to the dock anymore. But I connected with a friend of his who was you will connect with when you go back, who's a relative and a neighbor. And he told him I was coming. And so he was very excited because of my connection to Hakim. Feels very connected to me. So we went on a journey. We were supposed to meet him in the morning. That we went on with it. I won't have to go the whole thing. But a young cab driver who didn't speak English didn't know what the hell was going on. And so we came back to the hotel. I thought, oh no, we're not going to see him. But he knew we were coming back to go to Philae with his son in the afternoon. So we were supposed to meet him at 9 o'clock in the morning. We didn't go back till 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock. He stayed at the dock for hours to wait for us to meet Simi and to meet you, because he knew I was bringing somebody who had a Nubian name. I told him the story of how you got your name. And this is why I have the video. I can, you could have the video. You could put.
I have it up on my
That's a picture. You took that picture. I love this
yes.
picture.
I took that picture when you finally hugged again.
I saw him and he saw me. He saw me. It was a very powerful.
And this is like such a heavy thing for me because even like talk about another crazy synchronicity. So the very first breakfast we have in Cairo, our waiter is the first guy in my entire life, he was Nubian,
Yes.
to recognize my name.
Yes.
And I'm like almost in tears. I'm just like freaking out. Like it took me this long for someone to go, "Oh yeah, Oteil, blah blah blah. I know that name."
And
Blah, blah, blah. And then
he waited. Even when you were gone, he waited on me, and he kept asking about you. Where's Oteil?
But the crazy thing is, his name was Omar Abd'el Hakim, and your teacher is Abd'el Hakim Awyan. And we're like, wait a minute, it's crazy.
His father had the name of my teacher. His father was named Abd'el Hakim, a Nubian man.
Come on, man. Come on, dude.
The Nubians loved him. See, he belongs to a tribe which they call the Matuki tribe. And the Matuki tribe had adopted Hakim. They loved him, and he loved them because he was proud of his Black African blood, as I told you. Yeah. And so he was an adopted member of the tribe. And this is why in 1998, he told me, Stephen, I'm going to introduce you to the greatest of Nubian musicians. And that's when I first met Mohammed. And every year I would go back. He'd come on the boat. He would play for our people. And now he's retired. And I said, oh, no, we're not going to see him. But this guy arranged. He would be there. And he waited hours and hours for us to show up. And when he played, he looked at you when he played. People can see it in the video. He's playing to you. He's playing to you because he's believing this is the music of your ancestors. He believed that you're Nubian from your blood, from your ancestors. That's why it's not that you were delivered by a Nubian doctor, and he told your mother the name to give you. It means wanderer or explorer in Nubian. It's nothing happens by accident.
That's no way, dude. Everybody.
And so he knew you were Nubian, and he was playing.
I was in Rwanda for 2 friggin' weeks. Nobody said one thing to me about you look like you're from here. every day, at least 5 people. And that's why I started taking pictures with them all,
I
because
told
I
you
was
that
like,
would happen.
I'm gonna
I
have proof.
told you. I
I'm gonna
told
have
you that
proof.
would happen.
And even people that were like, I told them, I'm like, I'm not from there. None of my family. It's like genetically 23 and
They
me.
didn't believe
I'm
it.
from
Now,
Nigeria. They said,
to them,
whatever,
you were
welcome
Egyptians.
home.
To them, you were. That's right. Welcome
Yeah.
home.
They said,
Yeah,
and
I
then the
mean,
one guy,
I tell you, the first thing Hakeem would have done when he'd seen you, he'd give you this big gigantic hug, and he'd say, "Welcome home, my son.
yeah,
Welcome home." That's what he would say. And I knew, especially the Nubians would. I mean, this is why the kid stopped. He wanted to smoke with us. He wanted to get high with us. He knew you were Nubian. Ramadan Tarek knew you were Nubian. I mean,
dude,
they
when
knew
we
it.
showed up to Elephantine Island and all those musicians broke out. So like when we got to Elephantine Island, I was done. We hadn't eaten. I think it had been a long time, like
Oh yeah,
that between we were meeting at breakfast at like 6:30 a.m. And
that's
then
right.
we wouldn't eat lunch till like 3:30 in the afternoon.
That's
And I'm
right.
like down. And then with all the walking and the sun and the blah
Yeah,
blah blah. Back,
I'm used to eating around noon. I mean, my biggest
I
meal of
have
the day is lunch. I don't
I
eat.
gotta
You
eat
were
every
eating.
four
You
hours,
would be
man.
eating late. I didn't eat dinners with you guys because I don't eat at night. You and Jeffrey would be having dinners
I
at 8, 9
need
o'clock at night.
I need 8, noon, 4, and 8 again, or somewhere dinner in there, or else I have
Exactly.
blood
That's
sugar.
it.
I was super done. And
You
we
had.
get
I know
there,
that.
and
Well,
then
I
we're
never had
going,
dinner, so we would meet for breakfast and lunch. I never had dinner with you guys because I don't eat. I
yeah,
don't eat.
yeah.
I don't
But
eat.
we finally went to this dinner, and I almost skipped it, man. But I was so jazzed, like getting to Elephantine Island because I knew all the history there and stuff. And I just like just drag yourself to dinner, and then those
Yeah,
musicians broke out,
yeah.
and all of a sudden, my energy. It was like a video game that I just got recharged, like boop, and all of a sudden, it was the craziest thing. And when we got there around all those Nubians, man, I felt lit up, dude.
Definitely.
Lit
That was home. That
up,
you.
bro.
They
And maybe
all
it's my
believe.
name and the whole, it's just
You go back and read the same thing. They all knew that you were Nubian. They know. They know. They don't have to see a piece of paper. They don't have to see a genealogy. They know when they look at somebody where they're from. They know.
Well, I used to joke with people. They were like, "Are you really from Egypt?" And I would say, "Yes, but it's been about 7,000 years since I was there."
Maybe
So now that
12,000.
I've gone back, and all these people were saying,
Maybe it's
"Welcome
20.
home," I was like,
Maybe it's 20,000 years. That's how it is for me.
"Whatever it
20,000
is."
years ago. We walked among the pyramids. We helped to build them. You would, yeah, you would.
That's what
That's
I
right.
think. I think we built the pyramids,
Right,
and we did it because we knew the stage of Amen was coming.
right,
We knew that we would forget. We
right.
knew it would all fall into darkness,
Absolutely.
and we left something that would
Absolutely.
prove beyond a shadow of a doubt and would
Right.
also
That's why they're
bring
still
back our
there.
memory visually,
Absolutely.
frequency wise, like touching
Absolutely.
it,
Absolutely.
walking in the temples, the geometry,
That's it.
that's what I think.
We knew it all. We know you awakens it up in you. That's why Hakim would say the sight awakens those cellular memory is not just in our brain, it's in
Yeah.
our DNA. We
Yes.
carry in our DNA the memories of all our ancestors, our mother's line and our father's line, all our ancestors.
So, so anyone of the sesh anywhere on Earth can be in any of these pyramids, and it will awaken the stuff.
Did
I
you
just,
see?
we just gotta
Did you
go.
see the latest craze in Egypt is Asians? You saw a lot of Chinese. You saw a lot
Yes,
of
they do.
Japanese. You see Korean. They come and they love it. That's not their culture. That's not supposed to be what they awaken it. They love it. It first started in the 2000s. Japanese were coming. Now the Chinese, because the Chinese had the money, and the Chinese come to Egypt in these huge, large groups, and they love it. They love it. And they can't explain why, but they love it because it is it's such no matter whether you're from South America, whether you're from Asia, whether you're from North America, whether you're from Scandinavia, you go to Egypt and you remember that you were once there, but you can't explain it. If it doesn't come to the intellect, the left brain, you can't explain it. Why am I so comfortable? Why do I, what is this? But it's deja vu. Stephanie had it. The most people that were awake on our tour, like Misty, like Marsha, like Tammy, they knew they'd been there before. Tammy went down into the crypts with Stephanie, and she knew she was a priestess of Hathor. She'd been there before. I mean, that's how what her
People
daughter
get,
said.
people get, think what they want. We may sound crazy or whatever, but man,
No,
I know when I touched that stone
absolutely.
and the tears just came
It's
streaming
got
out
some
of my
Chinese.
face.
There's the
Like
Chinese. You see,
it was something,
yeah,
man.
yeah. They
And
look
remember
Japanese.
there
They're
was an
Japanese.
Asian couple there, and we went up into that. You have to climb up this ladder. You go into this little teeny opening, and then when you get up there, way up, it's a teeny little room. I mean, it's
That's
obviously
at Dendara. At Dendara, right?
yeah, at Dendar. So I was coming up, and this Asian couple. I don't know if I think they were Chinese. I'm not sure
Or
which,
Japanese. They both come.
but they were coming. They were coming down, and the little girl. They had a girl. She must have been about 2. Well, she was scared to go down the ladder, and they were both behind her. So we were, they were stuck because the opening's like only enough for like a kind of a slim body to go through. And so I just went up the ladder and I went like this, and I was so touched that they trusted me and that she trusted me.
Of course.
But I grabbed her and I held her with one hand, and
Beautiful.
I just went down really slowly. Like in America, I don't know.
Yeah, the people would think you're molesting their child. They call the
Yeah,
cops.
or
Right?
whatever. They're just like, I don't know this dude, but she was so trusting,
Of course.
and
Of course.
it was just a moment I'll never forget. But yeah,
I've
man,
had many like what I was doing is I would stand to the opening of the crypts because I couldn't go down in the crypts anymore. But I would do
yeah,
what the guides used to do. When people come walking up the stairs, I'd put out my hand, throw a hand, and let people out. And some people that were all tired, they were glad. So this little Japanese girl, she was about the same age. She looked at me and she grabbed a smile and she took my hand and let me lead her up. It's exactly that. They know. The children have to be taught to hate. They have to be taught
that's the
racism.
truth,
We're not
baby.
born racist.
Yeah,
We're not
now
born
that
racist. You're
is
taught to
going
be racist.
down into the subterranean. Now that looks like it's going up into the king's chamber, but that was to me like
350 feet down.
that's what crushed my back.
The
That's what
first
messed me up.
150 feet are constructed stone, a part of the base of the pyramid. The last 250 feet go into the limestone bedrock. When Matthew Flinders Petrie in the 1880s measured the tolerance, he said it only deviated from absolute straight by 1/4 of an inch.
This is what I want people to see. Yes.
Yeah.
So I want you got to go up, 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 up
And
to
if you
the
can see
king's
the
chamber,
baseline,
right?
you see the bedrock, the last 250 feet are into the bedrock. And
Yeah,
it only
exactly.
deviates
So when
from
you
a
come
quarter
back,
of an inch.
you come back down from the king's chamber, and then you
Right.
get a break because you just go straight across to the queen's chamber.
Right.
Then you got to go back down to the right there.
Right.
That's when you go to the long hall down. And when you get to that part right before that
It's known as
square,
the descending passageway. Right.
it gets darker and darker and darker. And then when you finally get to that little spot right before the bottom rectangle that's
And you
horizontal,
can stand up.
that passage is super narrow and you have to crawl on your hands and feet in the dirt. And it's so dark. And let me tell you, it's scary. Only about the first half of that thing is lit. And then I turned on my cell phone
Right.
uh,
Why I told
last
people
night.
I told people to
Beyond
bring
that
flashlights.
throw of it, it's completely pitch black. And then it's just like, it gets scarier and scarier. I was gone too far to turn back.
And also,
Man.
it's the energy in there because not only do we call it the subterranean chamber, it's the reaction chamber. That's where water would come in and be broken up into hydrogen and oxygen, and the hydrogen gas would come up. This is Chris Don's theory in the Giza power plant. So that's the reaction chamber. That's why there's so much energy down there. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
And the erosion down there is from water. It's impossible to say that the erosion down there is from wind and sand. It's underground. There's no wind and sand. It has to be water erosion. It has to be water erosion.
And we meditated down there too when I finally got down there, and it's all right because it's so quiet. It's as quiet as it can get.
Ever.
And I'm like, I'm just trying to calm my breathing down so I don't like screw up everybody else's meditation. I think there was about 4 people down there. So I finally found myself. I was so hot and so sweaty, covered with dirt. So when you're covered with sweat and dirt, that's real fun. But I just found a little spot and meditated. And there definitely, man, there is so much
energy.
It's like
that was the
so
reaction.
I gotta go, but I want to.
I'm glad we got as much as we can.
One last question. before
Sure.
we go, and we will do this again for sure because we have
Absolutely. As
many
many
other
times
things
as you
to talk
want to.
about.
Many times as you want to.
Tell me about the last time you saw Hakim. The very last time you were with him.
It was in January of 2008. He wested in August of 2008. It was with Sachin Raja, the group that I brought, that he asked him the question, where did the idea of death come from? And he said in one sentence, from those who would make benefit. He summarized my whole second book in one fucking sentence. Those that would make benefit. Who created religion? The funerary priests. They created the idea of death. So, yeah, I usually have it. It's not a blessing; it's a curse. Sagittarians have the ability of precognition. I knew when my mother was going to pass. I knew when my father was going to pass. I've known when certain friends of mine were going to pass. I didn't know it with him. January 2008, we still were talking. His mind was sharp as a tack. Physically, his body had worn down, but I knew it. But the last night, he never said goodbye to me. He never would say goodbye to me. He'd say, there's something, masalam, masalam, which I'll say to you at the end, means go in peace, masalam. He didn't say that to me. He just said, good night, I'm going to sleep. And that was it. He never said goodbye to me. And when he passed, one of his daughters wanted me to come to Egypt to be part of the funeral. I couldn't afford it. You see, my way was always paid to Egypt, being the tour guide, being the leader of the tour. I only paid to go, at 24 times, I only paid to go twice. 22 times my way was paid. I couldn't afford. But he came to me clearly and he said, no, you don't come to my funeral. He told his kids just to leave his body out for the dogs. He didn't even want a Muslim funeral, but they did a Muslim funeral. So the last time I saw him, he never said goodbye to me. And that's the point. So then we'll skip quickly before we end to August, because I did this with Stephanie because she went through it the same period. When he passed away, I thought my life was over. I thought I was done. There was no reason for me to be alive anymore. I mean, I'm happily married. I'm in a great relationship with my wife. I have cats that I love. I was in a good space. There was no reason for me to be depressed. I went into what the Rosicrucians call the dark night of the soul, where you go and you think, and we can will ourselves to die. If people
absolutely,
they're depressed, they give up, they think there's no reason to live anymore, they will have a heart attack and they will die, or they have a stroke. So I was very close to ending it. I would not take my own life. I never have wanted to.
Yeah, but you
could have committed suicide. I know people have committed suicide. I still love life too much to think that I want to take my life. But I've known many Vietnam veterans like myself who have taken their own life. But Hakim came to me clearer than he has ever come before or since. And he said, Stephen, no, your work is not done. If you want to honor me, you have to pay it forward. You have to continue the teachings. That's the reason. And I came out of the depression, and that was it. So I continued till this day. But he still comes to me. That's why I wore his galabeya. The best picture I have is you and I together. I'm wearing his galabeya. And the picture of us smoking together, I'm wearing his galabeya so that you knew that you smoked with not just me, you smoked with Hakim. Because every time I would smoke, he rides to smoke. Now he comes to me, and he comes to me all the time in my dreams, in my meditations, in my waking consciousness. So, but that night was the clearest he'd ever come to me,
That's a perfect time to end. 1, 2, 3, 4.
This is just the end of the beginning. So I say to you, like I said to Stephanie, Masalam Habibi. That's what you say in Egypt. Means goodbye, my beloved. Habibi means beloved. It's the feminine form, Habibi. And the term that we use for we are together is Habibi Garibi, which he taught me. It means my beloved who I keep close to me. That's family.
Garibi.
That's their word for family, Habibi Garibi. And he treated me as his eldest son. He treated me as
well, bless
we
you.
are Habibi Garibi. We're not brothers of a different mother. We're brothers of the same mother, the cosmic. The universe.
That's right, man.
Is the great mother. That's Newt. That's who the Sphinx represents, Newt, the great mother.
The great
brothers are the same mother. So I know you got to get your kids.
Well, I have people waiting. They're gonna take me out to lunch, and
good.
Tammy's on it. Tammy's here. So
all right. I'd say give her my love and give her a big hug. I never got to say goodbye to her. She had to rush to the room to get the video audio. So I gave Sierra a big hug, and I said, make sure you give that to your mother, because I didn't get to say goodbye to her. But now she's befriended me on Facebook.
Yeah,
So
dude, bro.
she said, I love you. She sent it a message.
To be
Say hi
continued.
for me. Give her a big hug and kiss.
Love you, man.
Love you, man. Forever. Been before, and it'll continue on. When I'm no longer here in body, I will still be with you.
Dude, no death, no goodbyes. Yakini, yakini.
Yakini, yakini.